Welcome everyone who has joined us to a new live event on 7 Insider. We're very excited to be here for the second episode of this new series where we talk with curators. Here we bring you engaging discussions with leading curators in the field of photography who represent diverse institutions worldwide. We are very honored to be joined today by István, and he has a very impressive resume and career, so I'm not going to attempt to name everything myself, and I would like to give István the word and maybe briefly tell us who you are and what you have been doing in your career.
Okay, I hope you have two 3 hours because I'll then go through everything. But I'll try to be brief. So basically, I'm coming from press photography. I also worked really shortly as a photographer, but I really early on decided that I should probably more concentrate on dealing with some other people's photographs than creating photographs myself. So it was always more fascinating to me. So I was a photo editor at the leading Hungarian news website called Origo, and I became the head of photography there. So this was between 2007 and 11. When I then joined MTI, which is the National Hungarian News Agency, as the head of photography there. So I was converting from a news web portal to a news agency, which is a completely different workflow, and it was really a new word for me. So that was really exciting. And I stayed there. I also worked there as a photo editor and as the head of the photo desk until 2014, when I joined the Capa Center. And the Capa Center itself was formed in 2013, so I joined half a year later. So I'm there more or less from the beginning, almost from the beginning. And actually, I just realized when you asked me that this week I'm with the Capa Center for 10 years. So this is my anniversary party, basically.
Congratulations.
So, thanks. So I work as a curator with the Capa Center, and now I'm the artistic director. We have actually 4 curators, including myself. And then I have some other side projects in the meanwhile. So I was teaching more about documentary photography and photo editing at Budapest Metropolitan University for 5 years, and then for 2 years on Moholy Nagy University for art and design about photo history for 2 years, as I mentioned. And beside that, I'm a volunteer editor of Fortepan, which is an interesting Hungarian initiative. It's a digital-only photography archive, collecting pictures from before 1990 and making them completely freely available. So if you're interested, you can go to fortepan.hu and then you will find almost 200,000 images. And I have to say, this is an edited archive. So there is an editor, there is always editing. So this is not all the pictures. These are just the good images, the meaningful images, if you will. So I'm a volunteer editor there. It's a love project of all of us who work there. So everybody is volunteer. And on a regular basis, I edit the weekly Fortepan blog, which is a cooperation between the Capa Center and Fortepan. So I'm an editor there. We create articles that tell the background stories behind Fortepan's images. And we put out an article on every Friday, so weekly in Hungarian, and then a little bit seldomly we translate them into English too. So I do that too. And maybe it's worth mentioning that I do, I don't know, a lot of other events. So I'm a moderator. I attend portfolio reviews. I regularly sit on juries. And one important is József Pécsi Photography Scholarship, which is the most renowned Hungarian photography fellowship, and I'm on the jury for 5 years there. I'm not sure if it was brief enough, but I think this is an overview of what I've done, what I'm interested in.
You are right. You could fill like 3 hours with. It's amazing when you said, and besides that, even though I thought, oh, that was already a lot. What I would love to know your role at the Capa Center. You're now the artistic director and the curator, right?
Yep.
What do both jobs entail specifically for, being at the Capa Center?
Yeah, so as an exhibition curator, you curate exhibitions, so that's not a very big surprise, probably. As an artistic director, you have to decide about. You wouldn't even guess how many things, actually. I wouldn't even have guessed myself. So there are a lot of decisions to be made regarding planning, obviously, mostly. So what kind of exhibitions we should show, what kind of ratio we should have between group exhibitions, solo exhibitions, exhibitions featuring Hungarian photographers or photographers from abroad, what kind of themes we should address, and all sorts of things like this. Because so we have 2 permanent exhibitions. One was opened on our ground floor and on our -1 floors, which is the permanent Capa exhibition, because we have one of the so-called master collections from ICP, from Capa's images, because Capa, as some of you might know, was born in 1913 in Budapest. So we are showing the best of his images, and also André Kertész, who is also a really famous photographer, and he donated 120 pictures to a small little village in Hungary, where he spent his childhood summers, and the village doesn't have the means to show this body of work, and then we are showing on a permanent basis André Kertész as well. André Kertész is usually how they call him, but Kertész means gardener, by the way. So it's in Hungarian it also has a meaning. So these are the 2 permanent shows, and then usually we have one bigger show and 2 other smaller shows in our temporary spaces, where we show all sorts of different exhibitions. We are called Contemporary Photography Center, so we usually concentrate on contemporary, or if we show historical photographs, then they are usually complemented with contemporary photographs in one way or another. And then we have lots of events, which I really think is really important for any photography institutions, because the Hungarian scene really needs, to have catalyzing events. So we have, for example, Artist Talk series. We have one series that is addressing like mid-career photographers, another one photographers who have a complete body of work already to be, to talk about. We have a new documentary photography talk series led by one of our curator colleagues, Katalin Kopin, about different kinds of topics. So in this case, it's topical, so it's about one specific theme, and she invites 3 photographers to talk about that theme. And I also want to mention that we decided to record these events and put them online on YouTube, so you can watch them later on, because I think all these events really add up as an archive. So we really think that the events themselves is just one leg. We are also building an archive when we are recording these and making them available. So these talks are really important, and also we are organizing some other events, and we do have a lot of cooperations. We are part of Futures photography platform, that is a cooperation of almost 20 European photography institutions, and we choose, each and every one of us, we choose 5 talents each year, and we help them network with each other. So this year they are meeting in Zagreb at Orkan Vida Festival, but for example, last autumn they were meeting in Budapest at the Capa Center, which is it's a crazy big event. My curator colleague Emes Mucci, who is in charge of Futures, was organizing it, and then we had more than 120 professionals coming to the Capa Center. So it was really, cramming and booming. So basically, all the decisions regarding all these events are to be discussed by us.
And earlier you said that you're organizing these events because you feel that there should be, like, I think you used the word catalyst for photography within Hungary. Can you kind of describe what the photography scene is like? Because it seems very vibrant and active, and I think the Capa Center seems to have a very big role in that, and I guess you personally, but how would you describe the exhibition scene, photography scene within Hungary at the moment?
I think it's really vivid, and it's really becoming even more vivid in the past 10 years probably. I think the Capa Center is state funded, so there is really a big, like, we have 700 square meters of temporary and 500 square meters of permanent exhibition space. So it's like we have a substantial amount of exhibition space, and this is located downtown Budapest, so it's really well located as well. And we do get a lot of foreigners as visitors too. I think so we are really lucky to have this kind of support. And now the Hungarian Museum of Photography is moving from a small countryside town called Kecskemét to Budapest. So they are opening their doors at the end of next year in a big villa, also really well located in Budapest. So these really big institutions are there for photographers. And there is also Maimano House, which is a really nice house with a sunlight studio that was preserved from the beginning of the 20th century. And there are lots of commercial galleries, like really serious ones, who are regularly, for example, vintage galleries, regularly attending Paris Photo and other really Class A events and fairs. So that's also important. There is the Hungarian Association of Photographers that is active, and also it has the studio for young Hungarian photographers. So the members who are 35 or younger are part of this group. They are really active. So, for example, now we have one of the shows that we are showing is in cooperation with them. They have basically a small grant within them, for their members basically, and 5 galleries, including the Capa Center, dedicate their exhibition spaces to the winners. So I think there are quite a lot of opportunities at the moment. For example, we are also showing the Hungarian press photography exhibition that's been running for more than 40 years. So it does have a big tradition, and also the opening, which is the award ceremony, is really, really crowded and very popular. So we try to be a meeting place, and I think it's really important. I mean, the Homo sapiens.
I guess you came from press photography, right? So I guess you see the importance in that too, in the current state the world is in. I can imagine having the kind of the National Press Award show in Europe.
Yeah, and I really like how photojournalists, they really value each other, if I can say that. So there are always, political differences and arguments between the different parties, But these events, for example, these awards events are really, really heartwarming events. They really admire each other's achievements. And I'm really glad that the Capa Center can be a background for that, so we can, provide a platform for that. So I think it's really important because, we are, we are now sitting in front of our screens, but we really like to be in one room, like the Homo sapiens is, we are just 250,000 years old. So we really still have these ancient instincts that we really like to hug each other and shake hands and talk to each other. So I think this is an important part. And this is also true for the series we organize, the talks and everything, because that's also a platform where you can meet and exchange some ideas. And I really think that it's really important on an international level. For example, festivals do the same kind of work, if you will. So sometimes the festival's most important work is not even on the program, so that it creates a platform for people to meet and to start conversations which will form really interesting projects later on.
Thank you, Heleen.
Maybe István, you have prepared an amazing presentation for us showing some of the exhibitions you have worked on. Maybe you would like to share your screen and we dive into those. Also,
Sure.
I forgot to mention that if people in the audience have any questions, we are very happy to ask them to István. So if you want to have any questions, you can drop them in the Q&A box below, and then we will drop them in later in the conversation. It's important not to drop them in the chat, but to put them in the Q&A box. Sorry, István, please share your screen and then we dive into all the amazing shows you have been producing.
Okay. I hope I just shared the screen. Can you see it all right?
Yeah, perfect.
Cool. So basically, I prepared a few interior shots of exhibitions I've been working on, and I guess we could start with the most recent one, which is actually still open, and it's really a love child. It seemed like a really hard job, so I didn't know. When I got the first call, I didn't know what to do, but then it turned out to be a really interesting exhibition. As you can already see, we are in a church. So this exhibition takes place in the Assumption Chapel of the Archabbey in Pannonhalma. So basically an abbey with monks who are living there for more than 1,000 years, which really has a really long history. This is an hour and a half drive away from Budapest to the west. And I was approached by the cultural director, because these Benedictine monks, they think that it's really important to always talk on the language of the times they live in. So they think that art is a really interesting way to talk to people. And they really have a very serious art program. So the cultural director called me 2 years ago that this year the Basilica in Pannonhalma will be 800 years old. So I should do a photography exhibition. So I was okay. So this is a hard job. And then what I came up with and what I worked on with Attila Balázs, who is the photographer who took these images that you can see. So basically the idea behind the exhibition is that 800 years is already part of deep time. It's a historical time span, so it's kind of really hard to comprehend. And I thought that maybe we can translate it into human scale. And so we found 8 people who are 100 years old, and we took their portraits. So this is the smallest number of photographs I've exhibited so far, I guess, because this exhibition consists of 8 images. But they are really all really lovely. And this man is kind of a celebrity already, almost, because he is the oldest still practicing general practitioner doctor in Hungary. So at 100 years old, he was still active and curing patients.
Wow.
And yeah, he has an incredible story. I won't go into it because I could go on forever. But as you can see, the scale here, we really wanted these people to represent the life story of 100 years, of a complete century. So they were born in 1923, which is, you know, we only know these numbers from history books. They were already adults during Second World War. So it's really crazy. And we really wanted to show them in a bigger size. So they are like 4-5 times bigger than life size. And we really wanted to create some kind of icons, if you will, rather than showing the real people. So that's why we didn't write their names next to the images. We print them in a big scale. We try to, I don't know, blend into the whiteness of the wall of the chapel. But on the left side here, you can still see that we shared their life stories, but we didn't want to connect them to the images. I think it's always really important as a photographer to think, you know, what kind of message you wanna tell, and these differences make so these little nuances, they really make a big difference if you put the name and the life story next to the image, or if you put them all together at the end of the exhibition. So it's really, I have to say, it's really moving to be in this space. So basically, you enter an exhibition space that is actually also a sacred place, a church, and 8 people are just staring at you. Basically, 800 years of life is staring back at you. It's really interesting to be in that space. And I included Aunt Margit. She's one of the 100-year-old 100-year-olds who could attend the opening. So she's at the opening here, and she's really a very happy person also. So it's really good to be around her. We're really glad that 2 of them could actually come to the opening as well. And the photographer Attila also told me that he really liked to work on the whole project. And while they were setting up because the photographs were made in their homes or where they live at the moment, they can't travel. So he traveled around Hungary, everywhere basically. And while they were setting up the photo shoot, he was always listening to the life stories of these people. And Attila really thanked me for including him in this project, because he really learned a lot as a person by listening to these really incredible, sometimes really incredible stories that these people had to tell. So yeah, I think that's a maybe a smaller project, but it's really I always think that you have to talk to the general public, whatever that means. It's usually really hard to define who is your audience, but I really think that photography has this power to talk in a really simple way and in a really complicated way at the same time. And you always have to aim for both. That's why Ars Poetica, that's for sure, that you have to attack on both levels. And as easy as it sounds, as complicated it is. So basically, to marry these 2 things together is yeah, it can be really tricky. And now I'm really happy with the results in the case of this exhibition. I really feel that when you were standing there, some kind of magic was in play, but you could really easily understand what the whole project was about at the same time. So I really hope that you could engage this exhibition in several ways.
I think it's a very smart way to actually have these 8 times, like 8 people of 100 years to kind of show. It's a, yeah, you're calling it a simple way, but it's a, you need to have a way like this to tell a story like this, because otherwise it's very difficult to comprehend 800 years, right? I think it's a great way.
And what was the biggest compliment? Because we prepared the exhibition so that these images can be unhanged really easily, because they hold a lot of weddings here. So I thought that, okay, it's open until November. So it's basically the whole year. We opened it in March. So we thought that, okay, let's not make all the weddings have these images at the back of all the photographs. And there was a wedding just last week, and they specifically asked to keep the pictures on.
Beautiful.
So they really thought that so they really kind of were happy to have these kind of meta guests present
Amazing.
in the wedding. So I was,
These
I think
wise
this is the
elderly.
greatest compliment we could get.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
this is like the
beautiful.
most important day of their life, and they think that they want to include these guys, what they represent, what they stand for. I was really happy to hear that. So
That's beautiful.
yeah.
That is a good compliment.
Yeah, yeah, a nice note in the guest book, which doesn't
Exactly.
exist in this case.
I also really like how you
Yep.
and the photographer decided to keep all the backgrounds white and to really blend in with the church, because a church can be very hard to present photos, because a church is already very present and there's a lot of decoration to look at, so it can be really distracting. But yeah, you really are drawn to the pictures when you see them hanging in this church. So that's very impressive. Simple, but it works very well.
We started to talk with the photographer first when we started to talk about what kind of pictures, what kind of portraits should be taken. We started to send pictures of famous photographers to each other, because that's the easiest to remember. Oh, I have a really good Richard Avedon image in mind. So we were sending these images back and forth all the time. I was thinking about this and that, and then we very early on realized that we really want to kind of blend into the wall. So we really want to have this whiteness, and we really wanted to somehow elevate these people from being themselves, rather than we really want to have them to represent a 100-year life story, to be an icon basically. And I think this kind of the picturing of them and the installation is what we try to came up with, that will enhance this this feeling. So yeah, but it's yeah, I couldn't agree more that it's a hard space, because a church is is really dominant. So you don't wanna like compete with that, but you want to somehow still reflect on it. I'm really happy with this result. Probably it could have been done differently as well, but I'm really happy how it came about, and we could convince Conrad, the cultural director, one of the monks, to do it this way, and they are really happy about it too. So yeah, and that's great. And one more thing is that this is not a contemporary exhibition space, and I think this is a really, really great opportunity. So this is a UNESCO World Heritage site, so a lot of tourists go there, and they have a so people who would not come to a contemporary photography exhibition enter this space. So I think we felt with Attila that we have a really big responsibility here, because we can talk to people through images who would normally probably not enter I don't know, a photography gallery. And that's why it was really important to talk on these both levels. So to try to address this usually 80,000 people who go to this place each year. So, and try to have a common language, try to find some common ground with them. I really hope we did that, we achieved that. We'll see. So should we move on to the next show, you think?
Yeah,
let's see.
let's do that. This photo is so sweet.
So this other show that I wanted to show you was called Walls of Power. It was done in 2019 at Rancondar, the biggest international photography festival in the world. This is in the south of France. Many of you probably know it. And as the subtitle probably describes it, it was pictures about man-made barriers, so basically walls that separate us within Europe and throughout Europe, which is not an exaggeration because at the time there were 50 different kinds of physical barriers that were splitting different parts of Europe from one another. Obviously, this was still the wake of the migration crisis of 2015, so this was still back then a hot topic, but I wanted to show that it's so building walls in Europe has a long tradition. So that's just to mention Hadrian Wall. So we really can go back to ancient times too. But in this case, we can see, for example, here Gibraltar. So this is Spain and UK. Anti-smuggling barbed wire fence that's been standing there for 100 years, more than 100 years now. So we do have a tradition of electing some physical barriers, and I really thought that it's important to have a very political topic and a very timely political topic. I think this is so festivals basically can be more political because they are more flexible with their programming, and they can reflect on very contemporary issues really quickly because so basically they can decide on showing or not showing a work on a really like a shorter time span than a bigger institution or museum. So I think it's important for festivals to be political, and I think some of the festivals in Europe are getting more apolitical, which is, I think, is not the good way. So I really hope that festival organizers will feel the urge to make a statement, not specifically ideologically. I mean, just to put important issues on the agenda, and then everybody obviously can decide themselves of what they think about it. For example, with this show, I was getting negative and positive critique from both sides. So people who think that we should build even more walls or less walls. So I got, cold and hot water on top of my head too, which is not a problem at all. But actually, we are discussing something that is a hot topic. What is it?
So do you really feel that festivals in general, you said you think they're becoming less political?
Yeah, that's my. I mean,
what kind of
it's a generalization. So obviously there are always exceptions for that, but I think I see more and more. Like conceptual artistic work rather than not, and I don't mean documentary photography. You can be political if you're conceptual too, obviously, but I really feel that because of the polarization, probably because of political reasons, obviously festivals have to live off of something, so they have sponsors or they are getting some funding from, I don't know, from the local municipality, from the local government, from the, whatever sources they are depending on. And it can be tricky because, to I don't know, to please everyone. It's really hard, obviously. So it's easy to step on a toe of somebody.
Which can be great to do, right? For a conversation. I feel what you were saying about the hot and the cold water. It's
but
important too. That's why we're here.
yeah, but it's also risky, and I understand that you don't want to risk the whole platform for being bold. You know,
That's true.
So you have to strike a balance, and I really get that. And with the polarization in politics around the world, it's getting harder and harder to, you know, kind of balance everything out. So it's a hard job. I don't say that it's an easy job, and you know, why don't people do it? So I think it's hard to do, but but I think because of this you know, this quicker lifespan of festivals, they really need to stick to really hot topics, and to talk about hot topics, you have to be political. So it's like there's no other way to address it. So I really hope that we'll keep these political issues and topics on the agendas of photo festivals. So that's why with this specific exhibition, I got a grant. So actually this was the first cycle that created an open call for specifically for curators, and 3 of us got the grant and got the opportunity to pitch. So basically, first we got a grant to dig into more of into the topic that we proposed, and then after, if I remember correctly, after 3/4 of a year, we had to come back and then present an exhibition proposal based on our enhanced research. And then all 3 of the projects went through and were realized in 2019 during the festival. So I was really happy that this was still Sam Surde, the previous director, who chose these projects, and I was really happy that Sam thought that this project, for example, being so political, can be part of the exhibition, of the festival. I mean, what is also tricky in this case is that this space was, I think this was the only instance that it was used during the festival. This used to be the local tax office. So it's far from ideal, if I can. That's not an exaggeration to say. So it was really hard to from, as you can imagine, the tax office, you know, where people look at Excel sheets all the day.
Not the best.
So you have
most
to transform
inspiring
that
area
somehow into an art space, which is I like challenges. This was challenging, but it was really interesting. What was interesting also to create a structure, to basically these 50 walls, to put them into some kind of order. So I had 3 big sections, and so the research behind it was really important for me to kind of understand the whole system of these walls, and to try to tell their stories through photographs that represent this structure too. So they're not just, you know, pretty pictures that look nice. They really convey a meaning, and they all add up, and hopefully they are more than the sum of the parts. And
how many photographers were part of this? Was it
it's a big, huge show, because it was important for me, because all these 50 walls are in more than 40 countries, and I was trying to work with local photographers in as many cases as possible. So at the end, 42 photographers were included in this show. So this is really huge. But it was really important for me to have kind of the local viewpoint. So somebody who is living there, who understands the situation, and who has really easy access. So it's, you know, it's not just one found image from a photographer who spent, I don't know, 3 days there and did a picture that is, lights are nice and interesting shadows and stuff like that. So that's why it was important. It was really challenging, as you can imagine, to reach out to 42 photographers. Some of them are working with agencies, so, to talk about the rights and prints and whatever. So it was a big project, but it's a really nice memory that we could all do it this way. So I think it really added, it really did have an added value. And what also is important when I curate is that I always think about also probably the same idea that it has to be many levels that you can join in as a viewer. I tend to have something in the space. It can be a photograph installed differently, but in this case, a photographer is doing a really interesting project he's based in Poland, and he is recreating these walls from around Europe in the small models, as you can see here. So, and these are completely, again, like icons, basically. So they don't stand only, so obviously you can get a picture, you can get an idea about how one specific wall looks like, but this is kind of like more like a typology. And you can see what we built, what humans we create to distance something or somebody from ourselves. So I really thought that these objects had to be there to kind of also to affect you in a different way than the photographs do. And I really got a lot of really good feedback on it. I'm really happy that we could actually transport these from Poland to Ireland for the exhibition. You could see some really more well-known images, if you will. For example, here on the left, you can see a Reuters photographer's image from one of the exclaves of Spain, which is in North Africa. And it's a crazy scene, really, migrants trying to jump the fence in the back and the police trying to stop them. And in the foreground, people are playing golf. So it's just really appalling. And this was a really popular image when it was taken because it was circulated by Reuters. So it was really reprinted and published many times over. So I also try to have a kind of balance in that too, so that kind of pop culture, meaning that press photography circulated by Reuters and less known photographers and pictures created for the exhibition were also meeting in this show. Oh yeah, that's the next one already. Yeah, so what was also interesting, what I really would love to mention, that photography still has this power to prove, which is crazy because we've been altering photographs from the 19th century onwards. So there was photo manipulation right at the next second when Daguerre also, like the first picture that was showing a man is probably an actor who he paid. So we really made sure that nobody will believe photographs, but we still do. And it was interesting to see that people were really in disbelief when I told them that we have 50 walls in Europe on borders. They said, no, that's not possible. I mean, you can tell me 10, but 50 is just, it's not there.
There's no way, yeah.
And then photographs still have this kind of proof value or quality to them. And when they came out of the show and they were really stuck, okay, this is crazy. So they would never think that, for example, segregation walls with gypsy parts of settlements in Slovakia. So we're talking about the European Union. So we don't have to go really far. So we're not talking about these really distant parts of, I don't know, of North Greenland or something. So this is like really part of European Union. And we do have these walls, and they do stand there. So it was really kind of eye-opening. And I was really happy to see that photography still has this kind of power.
And what year was this, 2019?
This is 2019.
Okay.
The summer.
I was just thinking of all the attention that went to Trump and the wall. In the meantime, we have all these walls going on as well. Yeah,
and Sam, the director, always asked me, I mean, shouldn't we make it global, the exhibition? And I told, and obviously there is a point in making it global. But I always kind of push back on that temptation, because I really wanted to show, the reason I was concentrating on Europe, it was not because I was interested in our own problems and I'm not interested in the rest of the world, but the festival is in Europe, and I think I had to concentrate on one continent to be able to show all these walls. So people do know about the wall on the border of US and Mexico. They do know about the wall in the Middle East, in Israel. They do know about the wall in Kashmir. So we do know about quite a lot of walls. And I really wanted to show this. That's why it was important to show the systematization of the walls, walls of segregation, walls of influence, walls of migration. These were the three sections. And there were really a lot of subsections. And I really wanted to show all these kinds of motivations behind building a wall. Because there was, for example, in Russia, when there was the Soccer World Cup, so they built a wall in front of houses that were really in a bad shape. So people lived there, and they just erected a wall because the French football players, they were commuting there to their training field on that. So all these crazy things that you would never think of. And if I went global, it would have been too big. I couldn't go down to this kind of level. So that's why we kept the focus on Europe in this case.
But knowing you and your drive to make new things, I can imagine the global version might come out in 5 years from now.
Actually, I'm entertaining the thoughts, but yeah, I'm not
still
there
very
yet,
relevant. Yeah.
It might be coming up.
There we go.
So let's you agree if we move on to the next one?
We're running a little bit short on time, but I think we can do one more and then maybe drop a few questions in at the end. Also, a little reminder for people, if you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A box and we'll get to them later.
Okay, so I'll be quicker.
It's
I'm
also
I'm always talking.
No, it's good actually. It's just would be nice in the end to also touch upon some of the practical ways of photographers. But I think this is an amazing project.
So this project was shown in the Capa Center in 2020. This is you can see the Capa Center spaces now as well. In the meanwhile, this is a photographer named Tamás Urban. I think he is one of the best photographers in Hungary. He's 78, I think, right now. And he was photographing this guy called Unwanted Butterfly, that was his nickname, who is on the picture, who tattooed himself. And he was photographing him from 88 to 94 for 6 years until his death. And they met. Tamás was working on a big prison series. That's when he met him. And the guy spent almost half of his life behind bars for different crimes. But at the same time, he was this really creative guy. So he was, as you can see, it's part of the exhibition, or you can see on the wall, he was creating calendars. He was always drawing. He was, I don't know, writing a novel and all sorts of things. So Tamás started to photograph him right away, and he also started to collect items, different kind of objects that are related to him. And later on, when he was freed from prison, he still kept on, and they became friends basically. And he was taking care of Butterfly's money, for example. So the prison wage that he earned during the years went to Tamás, and he was giving the money back to him, because otherwise he gave it to Tamás because otherwise he would spend it on alcohol on the first day. So he didn't want to do that. So kind of Tamás was his patron at the same time. So I think it's really interesting how Tamás as a photographer was devoted to his subjects. And he was tattooing himself. So this is, you can see a big list on the wall. This is the list of the tattoos that are all over his body. And the butterfly is on his forehead, where his name is coming from. And Tamás was collecting his prison items. So these are all illegal prison items of Butterfly, or collected through Butterfly. It's not all his, but some of it is in his collections. I really like these kind of objects because they really have a lot of story to tell.
Did he get any response from the prison itself when they saw the show?
Actually, he's really in good terms with all the prison guards and the directors, because he was working on a prison series for long years, not only on Butterfly but on prisons in general. So Tamás was always so he was a magazine photographer, but he was always working on personal projects on a really, really long-term basis. So he kept going back for really long years and decades. So he had really strong personal relationships all the time, not only with Butterfly in this case, but also with the people who could give him permission. So he has a really big network, and they exactly knew what he was doing. So he has really, so he can persuade people in a really good way. But yeah, it sounds like it's a shady thing to do, but it's not. He's really open about what he's doing. But he's so Butterfly would be really, we would really look at him as a weird person still today. Not to mention this was like 40 years ago in socialist Hungary. But Tamás, he really looks like this decent old guy, and he always looked like this, you would never guess that he is the friend of this guy. So he has this, it's really interesting personality. And I really liked the way I could work with him, because he was giving me so much freedom. So he said, you do with the pictures whatever you want. And I was, I came back to him all the time. I was showing, all the plans and how we should, oh, this is great. I love your ideas. And I asked him, do you want to change anything? No, it's perfect. You do it. So he was really the easiest to work with ever. And he was always helping with whatever I needed. And he had no complaints at all. And he was really happy about the exhibition. And so, it's, I really like to work with him. And this is a guided tour, and it was really like people were really interested. And what I really wanted to mention, that we found the girl who used to be the girlfriend of Butterfly at the time. So, and we could invite her to do a guided tour. So this is really fun. She lives in a countryside town now, and this is her in the pictures in the background. So she was telling these stories, and this is also politically a really interesting time, because this guy who is really signed off of society, basically, he was photographed by Tamás during the fall of socialism. So it was a really huge change. and you could sense that too in the pictures. So so Tomáš really could decide on to pick a really good subject matter in a really good timing. So he always could think about, what is visually interesting? How can I create photographs? Because this, troubled guy, if you will, is looking interesting enough. But at the same time, he always had this macro picture in mind, that these are times when the society is changing a lot. So it's a great combination. The small pictures are vintage copies from the time, but he didn't make a lot. So the big ones that were not framed are the new prints that we made for the exhibition. And then we published the catalog as well. Nora Szűcs was the graphic designer. I really like the work she did because she really addressed this punkness of Tomáš and Butterfly.
Yeah, it's really his style, kind of, almost throughout the book.
It is, yeah. Yeah, people were always looking at him. So Tomáš always told us that it was really easy to photograph him because nobody was looking at the camera because the guy was so strange that everybody was looking at him rather than the photographer. I don't know if we have time for this or we should skip to the practical questions. Should we mention this?
I think as much as we would love to see it, I think it's time we stop the screen sharing and we dive into some more practical advice for photographers, because I think many people who are listening and watching will be very interested in that part.
Sure.
Maybe Ilvy, you would like to start.
Yeah, and also if anyone wants to put any questions in the Q&A, feel free to please do so. We're here now, so this is your chance. So for the Capa Center, I think the first question would be, like, what kind of contemporary issues are you interested in? Are there certain themes, let's put it that way, that you're more interested in than others? And what advice would you have for photographers to then basically pitch a project to you? How do they do that? What should it look like?
Yeah.
Do you work in themes, as in thematically, or so those are.
Yeah, we don't work with themes, like specific themes. So we don't have like thematic years, for example, or anything like that. Obviously, we try to address like timely issues, but not like very in a strict way. I would like to mention our. So this is obviously an international audience, but I still would like to mention an option that is more open to people who are based in Budapest. We have a series that is running for 7 years now that is called Capa, which is basically a workshop, a series of workshops for more than half a year. You can apply to be part of this. We usually have 10 or 15 participants who participate in basically like, it's a lecture series about one specific part of photography that is related to another art. So for example, the last time it was photography and film. And now it's going to be photography and staged photo, and the stage itself. We were talking about photography and pets, photography and plants, photography and dance and music. So all these kind of different things. And then at the end of this, we publish a zine, and we also do an exhibition. So this is one way to join our exhibition program, but for this you have to be in Budapest. Another way is to show us your portfolio. You can pitch it. Also, if you happen to be in Budapest, we have a regular portfolio review each month. And every 3 months, one of the 4 curators working at the Capa Center is taking a turn at the portfolio review. So you can always meet one of us every 3 months to show your work. In the other month, we ask outside professionals to do the review. But you can also find all our contact details in the contact section of our website. Probably it's not the best to call us, but maybe send us an email with a PDF portfolio, and then we will make sure to review it. We usually review it ourselves, like the curators ourselves, and then we discuss it from time to time among each other on a meeting, and then we get back to the photographer. Please be patient. This can take a while because, yeah, life is hectic, as probably for everyone. But we try to get back to people with a little bit more detail. We can't really analyze all the work we get, but we try to get back with a meaningful answer. And then we try to take part in different kinds of portfolio reviews internationally. So, for example, there is a new photography center that was opened recently in Bucharest. I was invited by them. So a few weeks back, I was in Bucharest doing a portfolio review. I'm going to Arles. Also, my curator colleague Katalin Kopin, she's also coming to Arles. She can also be reached there, and we do try to be present here and there. For example, through Futures, which is this EU-backed photography platform, and they do online portfolio reviews. So do reach out to one of the members to try to pitch yourself as a talent, because each year we choose new talents. And then if you are in, then you get a lot of chances to meet with other professionals.
Thank you. And you just mentioned that people can email. Do you mind sharing an address? I know it's very, maybe if you could put it in the chat. Thank you for doing that.
I will.
I think I also saw a question coming in, or is that just me? I saw
a question that came in anonymously. Who's asking, how did you get into curating? You mentioned in the beginning that you started as a photographer, and then you became a photo editor, but how did you then end up getting into curating?
Yeah, this is not the typical way to become a curator. Usually you attend a history of arts kind of program, and then you become a curator. So art historians are mostly curators. So I became a curator. So first, I was still working at the news agency as the head of photography there. But I really felt that the news cycle is so quick that there are a lot of really meaningful images that appear and go by in a matter of hours, really. And I was also looking for ways to motivate my photographers who were working for me, because, like press photography can be repetitive from times. I mean, it's not really fun to always take pictures with politicians in ties. So kind of I reached out at the time to the director of the newly formed Capa Center if we could make an exhibition from press photographs. It was the Maidan protests in Kiev in Ukraine at the time, and I proposed that maybe we could make a selection of the best photographs that are picturing the Maidan protests, and she agreed. So we did a pop-up exhibition, and we also started to discuss a lot of other options at the same time. And it was then when the monks reached out from Pannonhalma, where I did this 100-year-old project recently. And I had really this interest in entering the physical space with pictures and presenting pictures as a physical object. So basically, I reached out to these people to do projects. We did really short projects, small projects, and then apparently they thought it was meaningful. So they reconnected again, and then we kept on going. And then, after really quickly, I realized that this is what I'm really interested in, and this is what I should be pursuing. I'm not sure if I answered the question. I'm always talking too much, but hopefully there was an answer in there.
There was an answer in there, definitely. I know a question, but maybe Heleen, you might also have one. I just realized. I have a very
I was just thinking
one.
how interesting it is that when you worked as a photo editor and now as a curator, it's also so nice that you have a very different connection to your audience. I mean, as a photo editor, you have a connection with the photographer, of course, who you're working with, but now you have these guided tours and you get a lot of direct feedback compared to when you work for a newspaper. I can imagine it being very different and rewarding as well.
I have to say that's my favorite. I love guided tours. No, I really love. That's the best part, really, for me. Guided tours are, yeah, they are just a present for me. I think it really helped me a lot becoming a curator that I was before a photo editor. So being in journalism really enhances your skills in telling a story really in a short and to the point manner. And that really helps a lot because, I mean, we live in a quick world. You have to put through your message really quickly, otherwise people will lose interest. And I think we were really pushed to the limits to do this in a good way when we were working in the press. And I can still use that kind of skill. But you're right. It's really nice to meet in person because I think that's the biggest present a person can give me, any visitor who is looking at the pictures I was part of exhibiting, is the time. Basically time is the biggest asset we have and we can give each other. And people who devote their time to come to listen to what I have to say about the pictures that hang on the wall, it's like unbelievable that people do that. I'm really grateful. And that's it's really, even if it's a really small a meeting with a few people, it can be really, really, really meaningful. Maybe I'm getting really sentimental and I'm getting older now, but I really value these much more because obviously back when I was working at a big news portal, some of our articles were seen by more than 100,000, 200,000 people, and then on a guided tour you meet with 30. So this is nothing, but it really means a lot more at the moment to me because they really give their full attention and their time to us, and they really open their hearts and minds when they enter this space that maybe something new and meaningful will happen with them. And that cannot be overvalued, I think.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. I don't think it's too sentimental. I think it's very right. When I have an exhibition, I always like to actually stand there and listen to what people have to say, kind of as a secret. I'm not going to tell who I am. And then I will walk up to people to kind of discuss. I will say who I am then, but it's always interesting, all these different perspectives, but I really like to listen in as well and just stand there and see what people have to say. And it's lovely, all the conversations that people have about the work, and not about the pictures being nice or not nice, but about the topic. I really enjoy that too. Yeah,
I'm always interested in the topic itself.
Same.
Kind of in finding the truth, or kind of, because the word is a place that can be learned, and I really, if you are curious enough, if you are outgoing enough to say what's on your mind, and you're in curious enough to listen to what other people have to say, you can learn so much, and it's always a gift, really always a gift. And it's hard to strike a balance always, because you have to be dedicated, but you have to let go of things really easily at the same time. And it's really hard to decide which one you should do now, with one specific question. This is the one I have to stick with and I have to fight for. And this is the other thing that is not so important, I have to let go. So that's usually what you have to decide. And I have to thank you now that we were not talking about the rest of the exhibitions. We had to let that go and talk about these practical things, because this is also important. So yeah, you have to make all these decisions all the time. So these are, I think, the most interesting ones.
Is there time for one practical question? Or Heleen, do you have a last question?
I think I'm assuming we probably have the same question in mind, Ilvy, as a final practical one. I'll let you ask it and then I'll see if I'm right.
I was curious about certain do's and don'ts when it comes to sitting down with a portfolio review in real life, because you do many. Was it the same question, Heleen?
I was thinking, do you have any do's and don'ts or tips for photographers to end with? That's always nice.
Sure. There is always, yeah. So there's the most banal one is if you come to a sunny place, maybe bring prints rather than a tablet that is so shiny that you cannot really show your photographs. But to be, yeah, so other tips. So basically 20 minutes is the portfolio review time. It's a short time. Don't show a lot. Please be focused. Show less is always more. So show just a few, maybe one body of work or two at tops probably will do the job. You won't have time to discuss any more than that. So be focused and take pictures that are edited down to I don't know, show me 40 pictures maybe. 50 pictures at tops. But I always advise photographers to bring small prints and not really good quality prints, so you don't need a gloves and stuff like that, because like photography professionals, curators and editors, they like photography. They like to play around with photographs. So let them do the playing around. So just give them small prints that can be rearranged in a different order on a table, and you don't have to be, really delicate about it, or you can just play around it and, I don't know, try out different things. So, and we can, believe us, we've seen some really good quality archival prints and whatever, and we can imagine. So you don't have to have the most expensive paper, the best print or whatever. And try to think about what is the meaning of the topic that you are photographing, how you can sum it up really quickly, and try to think about your attitude to the topic as well, and try to sum it up quickly. And these two things are not the same. So these are two different things, what the topic is about and what your relationship to the topic is. Try to separate these two things and try to really, try to talk about it in a mirror, and then come to us, and then it will be much easier. And don't be intimidated about the situation that you are sitting there with the important curator or stuff like that, because it's not like that. A curator can be relevant as long as he or she goes to portfolio reviews and sees new work. So it's a win-win. So obviously there is, in some sense, there is a power situation, because photographer wants an exhibition and I can make a decision on that. So we can't help that. So somebody has to take a decision. But actually it's good for me to see new work. So it's I gain from it as well. So it's don't be intimidated by the situation. You are giving me some value. I like to look at photographs. I like to talk to photographers, so it's a time well spent for me too. So yeah, go for it.
Thank you. That's valuable information for everyone, I'm sure.
Yeah, thank you so much, István, for taking the time and even the extra time for talking about everything you do and sharing all your advice, which I think there are some great tips in there for the photographers who are watching. I'm afraid that with this, we will need to end the webinar for today. I think we could keep talking for many more hours, but unfortunately, we don't have the time in this case. But thank you so much for sharing everything and also for sharing your email address with our viewers. And
I hope they will all reach out, that your inbox tomorrow is flooded with new ideas.
Please do. Please do. If you have something like an interesting work that you would want to share, shoot away.
And there's a lot of love coming into the Q&A and into the chat, thanking you, and that it was great and amazing. So
thanks very much for having me. So it's always interesting to talk about myself. Usually I talk about the projects I do, so it's a strange situation, but I hope I did my best. So
it was lovely.
It was excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, we will end it here. The recording of this webinar will be available next week on our website if anybody would like to rewatch any details, and we will have a new episode on 7 Insider in 2 weeks' time. And that's it for now. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.